All right, strap in, everyone. We're diving deep into a wild mix of stories today. Super Bowl drama, stadium showdowns, and let's just say some interesting moves coming out of the White House. Ready to unpack it all.
Always up for a challenge, especially when these stories tend to, connect in unexpected ways.
Okay, so Super Bowl 59. No joy in Kansas City this time around. Eagles soared to victory, and from what I'm hearing, Mahomes and Kelce had a game they'd probably rather forget.
Yeah, definitely not their sharpest performance. I mean, 6 sacks on Mahomes, that's got to sting. And that pick six, oof. Even the best have their off days, right? Especially against a defense like Philly's.
It's true, everyone has an off day. And to their credit, both Mahomes and Kelce owned up to it. They just couldn't, find that magic, that spark they usually have. Mahomes even said some of those early season struggles kind of crept back in.
That's actually pretty refreshing to hear. Honesty about needing to improve, that's a sign of, real leadership and a commitment to getting back on top. I bet Chiefs fans are already looking forward to next season.
Speaking of next season, the Chiefs have another challenge to face that whole stadium situation. Remember that sales tax thing, to help fund upgrades for both the Chiefs and the Royals? Well, voters weren't exactly thrilled about it.
Yeah, stadium funding. Always a bit of a minefield, isn't it? Public versus private spending, economic impact, local pride, a lot of passion on all sides.
Definitely. So now the Chiefs have to figure things out on their own. Big decision time. Renovate the beloved Arrowhead or go for a brand new stadium. Imagine maybe even one with a roof so they could host Super Bowls and the Final Fours. Wow.
Now that's a decision with ripple effects. It goes way beyond just football, right? Think about the impact on Kansas City itself. Construction jobs, economic activity, the city's image even. It's like, a massive chess game with the Chiefs making some bold moves.
Okay, let's switch gears for a minute. We've got some, let's call them political chess moves happening in Washington. President Trump's been busy with the executive orders, and it's safe to say they're causing quite a stir.
Executive orders, powerful tools. They let a president kind of, bypass Congress and make things happen quickly. But yeah, they can definitely spark controversy, especially when they touch on, sensitive issues.
Case in point, those steel tariffs. Trump just raised them to 25%. He says it's all about bringing back American jobs, but a lot of folks are worried about higher prices for, everyone.
It's classic protectionist economic policy. The idea is to shield domestic industries from, foreign competition. It's been tried throughout history with, mixed results, to say the least.
And then there's the whole paper straw thing. Remember when everyone was switching to paper? Well, Trump decided to reverse that. So back to plastic we go.
Interesting, especially with all the concern about plastic pollution, right? It just goes to show how, sometimes political decisions and environmental concerns, they don't exactly line up.
Okay, let's bring it a little closer to home. FEMA, the agency that handles disaster relief. Well, Trump has hinted at wanting to, and I quote, get rid of it. He's put together a task force to review FEMA, stating criticisms about their response to recent hurricanes and even suggesting political bias.
Wow, that's a bold move. I mean, FEMA plays a crucial role in disaster response, dismantling it. That could leave communities vulnerable,
Sure.
raise serious questions about the government's commitment to, public safety. It's a big deal.
And here's another twist. The acting head of FEMA, Cameron Hamilton, his background is in border security, not disaster management. A lot of people are wondering if FEMA's priorities are, shifting.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Is this about genuine improvement or a more fundamental change in, how we think about FEMA's role? Only time will tell.
All right, so we've covered football and some, domestic policy. But now hold on to your hats because this next story feels like something straight out of, a political thriller. Trump suggested that the U.S. just, take over Gaza. And not just take it over, but turn it into, get this, the Riviera of the Middle East.
Yeah, that's certainly got people talking. Ambitious, controversial, a lot of adjectives come to mind.
Yeah, understatement of the year. And of course, not everyone's on board with this idea, especially in the Arab world. A lot of concern about, how this would affect a two-state solution and what it would even mean to, absorb all those Palestinian refugees.
Those are big questions. The possibility of, instability in the region is very real. And the humanitarian aspects, huge implications, a massive undertaking, and consequences that could be, pretty far-reaching.
And Trump, he doesn't seem too fazed by the pushback. He's saying that in his plan, Palestinians wouldn't have the right to return to Gaza.
That's a statement that could, escalate tensions, to say the least. The right of return for Palestinian refugees, it's a core issue. Denying that right could be seen as a major setback. Fuel resentment, make things even more unstable. It's a delicate situation.
Okay, let's step away from the Middle East for a minute and talk about something a little closer to home, something a bit more high-tech. Elon Musk, the guy behind Tesla and SpaceX, well, he's now in charge of a brand new government department, and it's called, believe it or not, DOGE. Yes, like the meme. It stands for the Department of Government Efficiency.
Sounds like Musk is bringing his, unique approach to the government, and their goal is pretty ambitious. They want to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget.
$2 trillion. That's, well, I can't even wrap my head around a number that big. They're targeting entire agencies, cutting federal jobs. Their argument is, well, they can eliminate waste and make the government run more efficiently.
Streamlining government operations, that's, a good goal, but cuts that big could have unintended consequences, lose essential services, expertise, the quality of government services could suffer, and that would hurt, well, the people who rely on them.
And they're not wasting any time. DOGE already cut $900 million in education department contracts. And get this, they're pushing for access to sensitive Treasury data.
Yeah, that's where things get a little, complicated. Giving a private individual, even someone as, let's say, driven as Elon Musk, access to that kind of data, it raises concerns about transparency, potential conflicts of interest. What does it mean for the, the integrity of government operations? It's a question a lot of people are asking.
All right, let's zoom back out to the world stage for a minute. What's happening with that Israel-Hamas ceasefire? Still very fragile, and there's a hostage situation that's making things even more, tense.
The Israel-Palestine conflict, it's, long and complex. It's not just about land. It's about history, cultural identity, different narratives.
Right. So the ceasefire was supposed to happen in 2 phases. The first phase involved releasing some of the hostages, getting aid into Gaza, and that, went okay. But now phase 2, releasing the rest of the hostages and a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, well, that's hit a snag.
Yeah, stalled negotiations, accusations of ceasefire violations. It's, unfortunately, it's pretty common in these situations. The stakes are incredibly high. There's a lot of mistrust. Finding a path to lasting peace, it's, a real challenge.
And Trump's, not exactly helping to keep things calm. He's putting the pressure on Hamas, demanding they release all the hostages by Saturday. He even threatened to just cancel the whole ceasefire if it doesn't happen.
It's a good example of how the actions of, a powerful leader can have a huge impact on a delicate situation. Applying pressure, but maybe escalating tensions, it's a tough line to walk.
And to make things even more complicated, now Trump's pushing for Jordan and Egypt to take in Palestinian refugees from Gaza.
That adds a whole other layer of complexity. Displacing large populations, there are huge humanitarian and economic consequences. It's a decision that, could affect the entire region.
So to recap, we've got the Chiefs figuring out their stadium, Trump shaking things up with executive orders and, let's say, bold proposals, Elon Musk trying to revolutionize the government, and a ceasefire in the Middle East hanging by a thread. It's, a lot to process.
It really shows how, all these stories, they're connected. Politics, economics, technology, global affairs. It's all happening at once. It's fascinating and, yeah, sometimes a bit overwhelming.
It's like, I don't know, trying to solve a puzzle, but the pieces keep changing shape.
Exactly. But that's what makes it so, so compelling.
And we're back for the final stretch of this deep dive. Ready for some more twists and turns.
Oh, believe me, we've got a few more surprises in store.
Remember DOGE. Elon Musk's grand plan to, supercharge government efficiency. Well, it seems like his efficiency express hit a bit of a roadblock.
It did indeed. A federal judge just, slammed the brakes on DOGE's access to those sensitive Treasury databases we talked about. Seems like handing over the keys to the financial kingdom, even to someone like Elon Musk, raised some serious red flags.
Yeah, this judge wasn't messing around. Made it very clear that only, actual government employees with a legitimate need to know should be accessing the Treasury's payment systems. Kind of a reality check for DOGE, don't you think?
It Really highlights the importance of, well, checks and balances, even when we're talking about, initiatives that seem well-intentioned on the surface. Transparency and accountability, those are essential, especially when it comes to, something as vital as our financial systems.
And the hits just kept coming for DOGE.
Mm,
5 former Treasury secretaries, and get this, from both sides of the aisle, came out and publicly voiced their concerns.
that's a big deal. When you have respected figures, people with that level of experience all agreeing that something's not right, well, it's definitely a sign that something's up. They understand the complexities and the vulnerabilities of our financial system and are not afraid to speak their minds.
And they didn't hold back. They called giving DOGE unchecked access to Treasury data unlawful and, get this, corrosive to our democracy.
Yeah.
Those are some pretty strong words. It paints a, well, a pretty alarming picture of what could go wrong.
They're reminding us that protecting the integrity of our institutions, preventing the abuse of power, that's crucial. Even when we're talking about, efficiency or progress, it's about the bigger picture.
It's almost, I don't know, ironic, isn't it? Trump ran on draining the swamp in Washington, and now he's brought in Elon Musk, a billionaire tech CEO, to oversee government spending.
It's a fascinating paradox, for sure. Shows you the complexities of political promises and the challenges of actually governing. What's considered the swamp depends on who you ask, and the solutions are rarely simple.
So let's take a step back for a minute. We've covered a lot of ground today. What's the, I don't know, the big takeaway from all of this?
Well, I think we're seeing a convergence of, major trends that are reshaping the world as we know it. Shifting political landscapes, the rise of powerful individuals, the evolving nature of international relations, and of course, technology's growing influence on our lives and, our governments.
And for those of us just trying to keep up with it all.
Staying informed, critically evaluating the information that's constantly coming at us, that's more crucial than ever. It's not just about knowing what's happening, it's about understanding the why, the motivations, the potential consequences.
So as we navigate this ever-changing world, let's remember to stay curious, ask questions, challenge assumptions, and seek out diverse perspectives. And hey, if you ever feel overwhelmed, remember you can always join us here on The Deep Dive for a breakdown of the biggest stories and, the fascinating connections that are shaping our world.